Hi everyone, I hope that you're all doing well, staying safe and healthy and energized. We're kind of back out in the real world. We got thrown back into it. So our exposure is obviously way higher than it was when we were quarantined in the spring. So I just really hope that you guys are all healthy and safe. I also hope that student teaching is going well. Everything is very crazy. I know that. So I wish that we could be together to discuss those things. But side note, if you ever want to talk or hang out or work on lesson plans together, I would love to, because I think it's really important that we stay in touch and communicate with each other. So we are going to do my professional development today, and my topic is about diversity. We'll get into what more specifically, but since we left for coronavirus, I feel like it's been very prevalent in our country that there needs to be a change. And I've been thinking a lot, even prior to doing this professional development, the educators, we have a lot of power to do good in that scenario. Obviously, we don't have the power to change a bunch of things or control a bunch of things, but we do have the power to control what we do with our students and what our students get from us. So making sure that we are the most knowledgeable and understanding as we can be for our students and for any student, we are doing our part. So we need to make sure that we are doing that. And I hope that you guys gather something from this presentation that you guys can take with you and adjust and use in your current placement or in your future placement or in your future classroom or with a kid you meet in Walmart, because we are teachers and we are educators and we have the power. So we should use that power to the best of our ability. I am going to share my screen with you for this presentation. So specifically, my topic is meeting the needs of diverse learners. So a little rundown of our schedule for today is we're going to start by talking about how are you, yourself, me, myself, how are we diverse learners? How are we diverse? Then we're going to discuss what we previously know, new information, application and implementation, how are we diverse learners, and how are our students diverse learners. We're going to touch back on that at the very end. That hopefully will wrap a bunch of things up and get you guys some more information and some reflection done. So to begin, how are you a diverse learner or diverse in general outside of the classroom or in the classroom? I want you guys to pause and set a timer for 4 minutes and just write down as many things that you can think of that make you you. You being you uniquely is a diversity. So make a list, compile a list that describes things that make you diverse. All right, so go ahead and just keep those lists off to the side. We're not actually going to share them with the rest of the class. They're more going to be used as a reflection piece throughout this lesson and at the very end. So just keep those to the side for now. So to recall on some background knowledge, things that we have already learned, we learned a lot about diversity and how we can put it into our classroom last year. We discussed a lot about making sure that we include every student in a book, or we include every student on things that we hang on the wall, that we include every student in videos that we show, so on and so forth. Those are all really important things. So some of the things that we specifically talked a lot about were culture, religion, race, socioeconomic status, gender, family dynamic, ethnicity, physical ability, learning style, so on and so forth. This list could literally go on forever. You cannot pinpoint one singular thing of diversity. Diversity is huge, large, and wide, and so we have to be very conscientious conscientious, of how we go about things to make sure that every student feels seen and heard and accepted, no matter what any of these things are uniquely to them. So now I'm going to ask you guys to pause this video, go to the Google Doc that has all of my links on it, choose the one that says article number 1, read pages 26 through 28, I believe is what it says. This is a professional article. It's a really good resource. I read a lot of it while doing this and just in general. But I want you to specifically read those 2 pages for now, but maybe keep that link so that way you can go back and look at it for other things. And then complete the Padlet. The Padlet and the article don't necessarily directly intertwine, but I'm hoping that the article will open up your brain to this type of thinking and get it going, so then you can answer the question on the Padlet. So go ahead and do that. When I did reflection on reading those 2 pages of this article, I thought instantly of a couple things that I have witnessed in my previous placements. This article talked about the differences depending on the place and who you are. Well, I experienced, and I'm sure you have all experienced some of this. The 2 scenarios that I had pop into my head were, one, we had a student at one of my placements who they didn't have enough money to have a car. So the student was late showing up to school every day, and then would have to still go eat breakfast, and then would be late getting into the classroom, which they were kindergartners. It wasn't the student's fault that those things were so reoccurring. So we had to make an adjustment. An adjustment we made was the stuff we did right away in the morning would be something we worked on during center time. And so center time, we'd work one-on-one with that student on things that maybe they missed in the morning, and he would do it during a center that maybe he had already mastered, or that was maybe a little too advanced for his learning level at that time. So finding a way to adjust to his diversity of socioeconomic status to make sure that he was getting the education and all the information that he needed. Another story was, I was in 2nd grade and I had a student who had schizophrenia. I have never in my life interacted with anyone who has had that. So that was very different. And I had to do a lot of thinking and learning on how to handle and how to interact with this student. It was actually very, very mind opening to me. I think I learned a lot from this one student, and I wasn't even there for that long. So mental health is a way of diversity. This student needed extra support in ways that not just the general education classroom teacher or myself or the principal or the para could give him. He needed something extra. So creating a way for that student to get what they needed to help his schizophrenia, which was the diversity that he had, was beneficial for the student to then be in the classroom and still learning the classroom content with his classmates. So now, here are some new information, which is not probably going to be new information to you, but I want it to be information that you take away from this as important information pieces for you to use and reflect on about diversity and diverse learners in the classroom. So when I first looked at this topic, diversity is huge. It covers everything. When we make a list of things that are diversity, it could go on forever and ever and ever and ever, right? We're all diverse learners. Every student in your classroom is diverse in one way or another because we're all unique. So I did a lot of thinking and mind-boggling and discussing of how could I break this down enough to where it's beneficial and useful. So I broke it down into three subsections: knowledge, collaboration, respect. So knowledge, be aware, watch the news, read things, do research. On the weekends, sit down and look through things on the news. Use all different news platforms. Look outside of just Lincoln, Nebraska, let's say. Like, look farther than that. Talk to families. Communication, which also carries over into other things such as collaboration and respect. You need to talk to families. Be on the same page. Know from talking to families what your student needs. Something else that has been brought to my attention due to recent events is that not everything we have used in our educational system as educational tools might not be appropriate anymore. For instance, the song, "I've Been Working on the Railroad." I'm sure we have all sang that song in school. I specifically remember singing that song in preschool a lot. It's a catchy tune. It taught a historical piece, we all have sang it at some point. Well, come to find out, it has embedded racism. It talks about slavery and things that are negative and we should not be singing about in a positive, happy manner. So, you have to do research? How do you know, though? So, someone had told me about I've Been Working on the Railroad, and I decided I wanted to figure out how could I know before I use a tool like that, because that's a tool ready to go. A song is a tool ready to go for you. All you have to do is hop onto Google, and I typed in "I've been working on the railroad" meaning. Some things popped up. I read a few articles before long, and it did not take me long at all because I'm not a reader. I was like, wow, it's pretty prevalent that this is like racism and talking about things that we should not be discussing, especially in a way that we should not be discussing them, especially targeted for an age group that should not be having those ideas put into their minds. So do your research, look things up, talk to your teachers around you, use resources to figure out if things are appropriate for you to be using in your classroom as tools. And now I want you to pause the video, go back to that Google Doc with all the links, watch video number 1, and read website number 1. It shouldn't take you too long. Okay, collaboration. Collaboration is a piece that can be used far and wide from diversity. Collaboration is something that should be used every day in education. So, know your students families. Let your students know you. Let your students' families know you. Use that as a tool of collaboration to work on things and to do things to better support your students. If you know your students and your families and they know you, that collaboration will be so much easier. It's really been fun to see throughout my placements the way that telling a student or a family that we're going to be a team will like change their mindset. Like, it's not like I'm talking to you and we have an issue and needs to be solved. It's like, let's be a team, let's collaborate, let's work together as one. And I'm sure you guys have all experienced that as well. But throughout diversity, that's very important. That story that I shared with you earlier about the student with the mental health issues, we worked heavily with their family, collaborated with their family to make sure that that student got everything that they needed. We worked as a team, as a unit, because we were all fighting for that student. So with diversity, we need a lot of collaboration. We need a lot of teamwork to make sure that the student is being reached correctly. Also, we need to be flexible and adjust. Each way of diversity is different. It's diverse. So we need to be able to be flexible and adjust to that and make arrangements on the fly and talk to resources throughout the school, the speech pathologist, your special educators, so on and so forth, your principals, all these people who have more information than maybe you might have to pull out of their toolbox to help you reach these other students that go farther than just having them in a picture book. Even though that is still important, we need things that go farther than that, that will push them and to help them become the best learners they can be, because we are doing the best we can do. So I would now like you to go to the document with all of the links again and read website number 2. This one is more about learning styles, and the reason I put this under collaboration is because I feel like we can all understand this one. We all have different learning styles. I am very much a person that I need a visual. I need to have that visual so I can see as it's being done. So how can I collaborate with my professor to have that benefit me? For me to have a visual of something to benefit my learning. So go ahead and read that website article, and then jot down some things if there's something that you want to take away from it with you. Excuse me. All right. The last bullet is respect, and I think this one could go without any explanation at all. Use your knowledge, use your collaboration, put yourself in their shoes. These are children. They're in school, and we have to be educators and people of support and love. Obviously, we will never know everything that they go through at home, but we need to make sure that we are putting ourselves in their shoes and looking at things through their eyes. Our diversities are different. I will never understand some of my students because I've never walked in their shoes, but I can try my hardest to make sure that I do sit there with the student and have conversations and collaborations with the student to then respect them and make sure that when we are teaching, we are including the correct things that that student needs, and also including things about that student that the other students could benefit from. That way, that, you know what I'm saying? You need a back and forth of everyone working together. Again, collaboration for that respect piece, excuse me. Stay up to date on diverse topics. Again, this all kind of goes in a circle. It all connects. Be aware. You need to stay up to date. Look at the news. Watch the news. Read things. Look broad. Look high. Look low. Look everywhere. Talk to people. That's how you find things out. So you really need to make sure that you have the knowledge, the collaboration, and the respect to meet the needs of diverse students. This video is 14 minutes long, I believe, so it is a little bit longer. But I think it's a very, very, very good video. I really enjoyed watching it, and I actually sent it to my mom, who's a special educator, and she really enjoyed it as well. So I would like you to make sure that you are really focused in this 14-minute video to take away everything that you can, because the woman speaking does a very, very well job. So go ahead, pause the video, go watch video number 2, and then rejoin us. Okay, so now we are looking at a connection to student teaching. So now this is when we get into the application and implementation of these tools that we have. So this is going to be a little bit of a work time. This was going to be a time that I'm going to have you set a timer for 15 minutes and sit there and work on these things. Oh, actually, this one's 10, excuse me. I want you to set a timer for 10 minutes, and I want you to make a list of all of your students in your class, all of them. And I want you to think of ways that each of them, could be diverse, and are diverse, and things that you see in the classroom, whether it's learning ability, physical diversity, etc., and so on. We know all the types. We have now talked about it a lot. It's a very familiar and common discussion piece. Make a list of all your students. What makes them diverse? You don't have to go into great detail. I don't want this to take you a ton of time, about 10 minutes. And then what has your CT or your school district done to help them? Just simple and basic. So for instance, let's say that I have a student named Kyle who he has a developmental delay, and we have him meet with our OT twice a week. That's what has been done, not much else. Then that's what I would write down. So go ahead, pause the video, take your time to do this. This will be beneficial to you in your current student teaching placement. So like this is your application time to really work and like think about your students right now. Okay, so some more application to you. So it says, think about your current elementary classroom in the list you just made. So we've already just been doing 10 minutes of really hard thinking about our students in our classroom and our diversity in what our school or CT already have done. What else could you do to help those really diverse learners? What other ways could you reach them? Maybe not an all the time thing. Maybe something that you meet with them one-on-one once a week in the mornings or something like that. And then how can you improve those things? What else can you do and how can you improve them? So now this is where we're going to collaborate as a class, and each of you have a student slide on this slideshow called Student Slides on the document. And you're going to go in and find your name, and you're going to choose 3 students to write about. Do student 1, student 2, student 3. That way we're not giving away any personal information. And I want you to tell us how they are diverse and then what you do, in what ways you can also help them. And if you don't have any more ideas of ways that you can enhance helping those diverse learners, then that's fine. Just do it right what your school has done. And then at the very end, I think it's really important that we can go back and look at this Google slideshow again and then learn from our peers. I'm actually really excited because there's a few in my class that I would like to see if any of you guys are experiencing similar things and how you're handling them. So these are things that we can add to our own toolbox. So go ahead, pause the video, go to the student slides, and choose 3 of your diverse students to expand on. Okay, so we are going to wrap up now. And I want you to think a little bit of reflection on yourself now. How are you a diverse learner? I want you to kind of sit and revel in that for about a minute or 2 and just think about what makes you a diverse learner. Maybe reflect back on your education experience. Obviously, you might not be able to remember preschool or kindergarten and what happened then, but just in general, if you have a certain learning style and you struggled at one point, what was done that made you have an aha moment and then succeed, or something like that. I want you to sit and think about that so you can in turn do those things for your students who may also kind of be struggling but not be showing it, or might not be as physical and obvious as other students. After that, complete the Flipgrid, and then we're done with our professional development. Thank you for your time today. I had a lot of fun creating this presentation, and I really look forward to learning from all of you guys as well. Obviously, diversity is something that is very prevalent and we really need to take a stand on. But I think taking it one step at a time and making sure we are all doing what we can do as educators and as people is moving in the right direction. So thank you. Good luck with everything.